once dressed as an empress, once married to the ruler of the Roman world, now moments away from killing himself, rather than face what the new emperor had planned for him inside the Colosseum. By morning, the execution order was already written, not a private death, not mercy, a public spectacle. He was to be dragged into the arena, stripped of dignity, used, and killed in front of cheering crowds as part of a grotesque myth reenactment, meant to mock the memory of Nero himself. For Sporus, death felt kinder than one more performance, because for the last 3 years, Sporus had not been allowed to exist as a human being at all. He had been turned into someone else, not metaphorically, not symbolically, physically, psychologically, surgically. This is not just another story of Roman cruelty. It is one of the most extreme acts of identity erasure ever recorded, a case where an emperor did not merely dominate a body, a name, or a life, but attempted to erase a person completely in order to resurrect his dead wife. To understand why Sporus chose poison in that dark cellar, we need to go back 3 years to the night Emperor Nero murdered the woman he loved most and decided that reality itself would no longer be allowed to stop him. Rome, 65 AD. The most powerful man on earth had just committed murder, not in war, not through law or execution, but in his own private chambers. Poppaea Sabina, the pregnant empress of Rome, lay dying on the marble floor. Ancient sources disagree on the exact moment. Some say Nero struck her once one violent kick to the stomach during an argument. Others describe a beating so brutal that servants heard bones crack through the walls. What they agree on is the aftermath. When Nero realized what he had done, he screamed for physicians. He promised rewards. He issued threats. He raged at the universe itself. But even an emperor could not command death to reverse. Poppaea was gone, and something inside Nero fractured permanently. This was not normal grief. When you roll over tens of millions of people, when you are raised to believe the world bends to your will, the death of someone you love does not feel like loss. It feels like an insult, a boundary daring to exist where none should. Nero refused to cremate her. Instead, he ordered Poppaea's body embalmed with obscene quantities of imported spices more than entire provinces produced in a year. Her corpse was dressed in her finest gowns and sealed inside a crystal sarcophagus so he could see her whenever he wished. Servants reported the emperor speaking to the body, setting places for her at banquets, asking her opinion on matters of state. At night, Nero could not sleep without massive doses of poppy wine. He woke screaming her name. Food lost all taste unless it was prepared exactly as she liked it. Her chambers were preserved perfectly, down to the placement of a single hairbrush. The court waited for grief to pass. It didn't. It evolved. 2 months later, Nero began seeing Poppaea everywhere, in the face of a slave girl pouring wine. In the profile of a senator's wife, prostitutes were dragged, panicked and screaming, into palace corridors while Nero grabbed their faces, twisting them toward the light, searching for something that wasn't there. Hundreds of portraits were commissioned. When artists failed to capture her essence, Nero flew into rages, sometimes ordering beatings, sometimes collapsing into sobbing fits. Then one day, everything changed. Late in 65 AD, Nero was reviewing administrative appointments, tedious work he normally avoided. A newly promoted teenage freedman was brought forward for confirmation. Nero looked up and froze. The boy could not have been more than 15. He had Poppaea's eyes, not similar eyes, not a vague resemblance. The same eyes, the same dark lashes, the same delicate bone structure, the same unconscious tilt of the head when nervous, even the same rare amber flecks in the irises that caught the lamplight just right. Scrolls fell to the floor as Nero rose from his throne. The court held its breath as the emperor circled the boy slowly. He touched his face, lifted his chin, watched how light moved across familiar features. This wasn't rage. This was something worse. Hope. What is your name? Nero whispered. Sporus, the boy replied. I am Sporus. In that moment, Sporus ceased to exist. He became a solution. Sporus had been born inside the imperial household, the child of a Germanic captive who died in childbirth, educated, intelligent, delicate-featured, trained for clerical service. None of it mattered anymore. For days, Nero kept Sporus confined to luxury chambers beside his own Nacelles rooms filled with silk, soft bedding, rich food, and silence. The cruelty hid behind comfort. Artists were summoned. Painters who had once captured Poppaea from life. They sketched Sporus from every angle. Physicians followed, measuring bone length, shoulder width, hip shape, jawline. They murmured adjustments under their breath. Nero hovered over them all. Differences were circled in red wax. Too broad here, too sharp there. Nothing was dismissed as impossible. Sporus was forbidden to use his own name. Servants were instructed to call him Domina my lady. His tunics vanished overnight. In their place came flowing silks and Poppaea's favorite colors, pale violet, soft gold, rose. Gowns designed to hide bone, soften outline, deceive the eye. Each morning, servants applied cosmetics, not the restrained touches worn by Roman men, but the elaborate masks reserved for noble women. Powder thickened his skin, pigment reshaped, cheeks never meant to curve that way. Voice training followed. Hours each day, Sporus repeated phrases aloud. His voice pushed higher, softened, reshaped. Tutors corrected cadence, breath, laughter. Again, they said, closer. Slowly, something worse than pain began. Sporus stopped speaking unless spoken to, stopped eating unless prompted. He moved through the palace like someone walking through a dream that did not belong to him, because by now, he understood. This was not costume. This was not performance. This was permanent. The physicians were summoned openly. Nero spoke of the procedure with excitement, like an artist describing a long-imagined masterpiece. This would not be mere castration. Eunuchs already existed in Rome. This would be creation. The physicians were promised land, wealth, protection. They were also reminded of the alternative. Refusal meant death. Failure meant death. The night before the surgery, Nero visited Sporus alone. He brought a small wooden box. Inside lay Poppaea's wedding ring and emerald encircled by pearls. Nero slid it onto Sporus's finger. It hung loosely. Tomorrow, Nero said softly, you will be reborn. You will finally be who you were meant to be, and I will love you as I loved her. Sporus spoke for the first time in hours. Will it hurt? For a brief moment, something human flickered in Nero's eyes. Then it vanished. Birth always hurts, he replied, but beauty is worth it. The surgery lasted for hours. Roman history spares us the details, but not the screams. They echoed through the medical wing, far beyond thick stone walls. Servants counted time by how long they could still hear them. Nero waited outside, not pacing in dread, but in anticipation. He spoke to the door, encouraged, reassured, like a father waiting for a child to be born. When it was over, Sporus did not wake for days. Recovery took months. Infection hovered constantly. Fever came and went. His body had to relearn basic functions. Through it all, Nero remained close, adjusting pain doses, inspecting bandages, reading Poppaea's favorite poems aloud. At night, he told stories memories Sporus had never lived, moments he was now expected to remember. The lines between past and present began to blur, between who Sporus was and who he was being forced to become when he finally walked again. The training resumed, relentlessly.